Hello friends, it's John Lone King and welcome to this week's episode of From Profits to Properties, where we help you to grow your business and to grow your profits, and in turn, help you to build long-term wealth through buying properties, whether it be a primary home and a vacation property, an investment home, or a portfolio of multi-unit properties. I'm here to help you to grow yourself, your business, and your portfolio. So today's topic is going to be about persistence. Now, in most of my episodes so far, I've been very tactical, I've been very logical, and I haven't been a very good storyteller. So I want to try and shift that a little bit. That's one of my flaws, is I have a lot of stories. I love the stories that I've got about clients, about situations, but I haven't been much about sharing them. And so today I want to start by sharing a story that ties in lots of different pieces regarding persistence. And it starts with a client that I got who was looking to purchase an investment property in the Southeast United States. So they were looking at properties in Tennessee. They were looking at properties in Arkansas. They ended up doing a 1031 exchange, and they bought 3 properties out in Tennessee and Arkansas. Now, one of the things from a business perspective is you've got to look for every opportunity that you have to connect with your next potential client. And that's exactly what I did. So in this case, this buyer that I had, he ended up buying 3 properties. And one of them was a property that was sold through what's called a turnkey investment company. Now, a turnkey investor is basically a company that buys properties. They fix them up and renovate them. They find a tenant and put the tenant in there. And then they actually sell you the property with the tenant already in place. And most of the time they give you a warranty on the property because they're the ones that rehabbed it and did all the work anyway. And so turnkey is a fantastic way for you to build a real estate portfolio in an area that you don't currently live in. More importantly, turnkey is an example of a business owner creating a business from scratch. Didn't exist decades ago, but built the business from scratch, seeing an opportunity in the marketplace. In this case, the opportunity being that you've got buyers that want to buy in markets they don't live in. These turnkey companies used to host bus tours. They would fly people in or have people fly in, and they'd hop them on a bus and they drive around to all of the different properties and check them out. And so some of those still exist out there. It's something for you to think about as you're looking to grow your real estate portfolios. You may want to look into turnkey companies. But I went ahead and I talked to the guy who was the agent at this turnkey company. And he's an amazing guy, and he did an absolutely amazing job in taking care of this buyer. And we ended up connecting and talking about what things I had to offer. And I ended up having the opportunity to serve him in doing a 1031 exchange. So he's buying 2 properties and selling one of his properties. And the 2 properties he's buying are new construction homes. And so these homes, brand new, you don't have to worry about repairs. You don't have to worry about things breaking down. They're highly desirable in the neighborhoods that he's buying them in. It's a perfect opportunity for him to get a premium top dollar rental income. So it really helped him in being able to generate more rental income out of this property than what you would get out of the average property in that area. Here's the problem. The problem is the appraiser that appraised the first one of those homes said, nah, I don't believe it's worth what he's paying for it. Now, one might say that's a good thing, that the buyer's going to get a deal. But the problem is the buyer was already getting a good deal on that property, and the seller wasn't going to budge. And so we were stuck in a situation where, I kid you not, we were like $75,000 low. Like, this property was selling for around $250,000. The appraiser said it's worth $175,000, $180,000. Like, it was a huge difference in value, And the deal almost died. And so the persistence comes in where I know that this house was worth it. And so I fought back with the appraiser. And I sent a rebuttal and I said, no. This is not true. You're skipping these properties. You need to include them. And the appraiser said I was wrong. The appraiser said, John, I don't agree. Those properties are in a different zoning area and they don't apply. We can't use them. And so then I said, okay. And I talked to the buyer and we strategized and we looked around and we said, wait, there's some other new construction homes that are just like this that have sold recently. Why can't I use those? He goes, no, those don't apply either. And he gave some excuse about why they didn't apply. And we were done. I couldn't rebut anymore. Now, if you know anything about the lending and real estate world, the appraiser's word is their word. It's their opinion. But when an appraiser says a house is worth something, the bank takes it to the bank, literally, right? They take it home to where they're at, the bank, and they say, look, that's it. That's what the house is worth. And it takes an act of Congress to get an appraiser thrown out, to get an appraisal removed and get a new appraisal started over. And I didn't give up. I fought with my corporate office. The first person I talked to said, John, the appraiser is the appraiser. We can't do anything about it. You know, we never throw away appraisals. And I said, no, we do when there's a good business case. And I made my business case and I escalated it up to the national head of underwriting within my company. And you, whether you are a small business owner and you are your own head, or whether you are a salesperson in another business where you've got lots of people above you, the truth is there's always somebody you can push something to. If you're the small business owner, you say, John, I'm the final decision maker. No, you're not. Like, you've got a banker behind you. You've got creditors behind you. You've got something that's stopping you from making that decision because you don't have enough time, you don't have enough talent, you don't have enough assets, whatever it is, you've got something stopping you that you've got to push through that barrier and be persistent in doing whatever it takes to accomplish the goal when you know that what you're doing is right. When you know that what your client is asking for and what your client needs is the right thing to do. And so I fought and I won. And I got that appraisal thrown out. Now I had to put my money where my mouth is because I had to pay the cost of the second appraisal. I am somebody who believes in doing the right thing, and I hope you are too. And I hope that in your business, if something happens, and the truth is it wasn't your client's fault that it happened, and it wasn't your fault that it happened, then I think as the business owner, you take responsibility. You do whatever it takes to make your client know that they are the most important and that you're going to make them whole, even though it was nobody's fault. And that is exactly what I did in this case. I paid the cost of that second appraisal. I paid the cost of that appraiser going out. Now, the truth is, if that appraiser didn't give us the value, then I lost the cost of the appraisal, I lost the transaction, and I might have lost the client, okay? Instead, we got the value we were looking for. The property came in at value, and we were able to get what we expected. Now, we're waiting on the second property to get appraised, and that one's going to go through, and they're both going to close at the same time. But this client is utilizing 1031 exchange, which is kind of the second part. You know, I always talk about the business side, and then I talk about the real estate side. And so I want to talk about 1031 exchanges in a minute. But when it comes to wrapping up the business side of this, that story hopefully shows you persistence. It shows you that, and I've got many, many stories of persistence, and I'll share more of them down the road. But that story shows you that you as a business owner need to be persistent when you know that what you're trying to do is the right thing to do and that it can be done. You've just got a barrier that's holding you back, that's stopping you from accomplishing the thing that you know should and can be done. Don't take no for an answer. You don't have to be a jerk about it. You don't have to be mean. You don't have to be the bulldog. You don't have to bulldoze over everybody. But you have to have conviction that what you're doing is the right thing. And then you have to push the right buttons. Maybe you have a business partner that doesn't agree with what you're doing. You got to help persuade your business partner to get to where you know you need to go. You have to push past the barrier. And a lot of times the barrier comes with risk. And risk is what we're doing in business every single day. Don't tell me you got into business and now you don't want to take a risk, because being in business for yourself is a risk. Being commission only, being a 1099 employee, that is a risk that you don't know how much money you're going to make tomorrow. You could make a whole lot and you could make nothing. So you've got to know that the risk is worth the return. And you've got to make sure that you're continuing to take the appropriate risks as your business grows to make sure you're getting the appropriate returns as your business grows. Again, first half is ending, short commercial break, and then I'm going to come right back and talk about the 1031 exchanges and how that works and how to be persistent in making that part work. So we're back with you in just 1 second. Hey friends, I'm going to take a quick break from today's episode to talk to you about one of the easiest home equity lines of credit we've ever offered. This program is super fast and super simple. If you're looking to tap into the equity of your home, whether it's to pay off debt, to fund improvements or enhancements to your business, or whether it's to buy another property, you have the easiest equity program I've ever seen. We can do it not only on primary residences, but we can do it on investment properties, and the process is super simple to qualify. Most of my clients are signing documents within 1 to 3 days and getting their money 7 to 10 days later. We will loan up to 85% of the value of your home through this program, and it is super simple and easy to qualify. Reach out to me right away so that we can figure out how much we can get you from the equity of your home to use to fund your future needs. Hey, welcome back. I'm going to keep it brief for this second half. You heard my story in the first half talking about the client that sold one property and is buying 2 brand new properties. But 1031 exchange is really where I want to focus on, which is the opportunity to trade out one house for another. Now, why would you want to do a 1031 exchange? There's a lot of reasons why to do a 1031 exchange. I have one client right now whose child is going to be going to college in Idaho. And they thought, you know what? I don't want to pay rent for the dorms. I want to have a place where they can live and they can actually rent out the rooms to their friends. Because look, I got a property manager right there in my daughter who's going to be going to college in Idaho. And so for that client, we sat down and we had a conversation about it. And I said, hey, we could buy this home. And there were 2 strategies of how they could buy the home. And they ended up doing a 1031 exchange, but it's important for you to hear these 2 strategies. One of them is what we call the kitty condo strategy. Now, it doesn't have to be a condo. We just call it the kitty condo strategy because it's historically been a condominium that people are buying, and it sounds kind of cool, rolls off the tongue to say kitty condo. So the kitty condo strategy is you put your child on the loan and you put them on the deed of the property, and we get to call it owner occupied. That means you get owner-occupied interest rates. That means you get small down payments that come with owner-occupied properties. That means that you have a lot more flexibility in how much you want to put as a down payment. The drawback, your child has to be on the loan and on title, which means you can't sell the house or refinance without your child's permission. Now, they don't have to have a job. They don't have to have any income because you're the cosigner. Your income's what matters, but they have to have credits. Now, if you have a child and they don't, even if they're not 18 years old, you need to make them an authorized user on your credit card. Don't give them the credit card, but make them an authorized user on your credit card so that they can start building credits. And in this case, I told that client a few years ago that tip. And so his daughter has credit. And so at 18 years old, the daughter has credit. She doesn't need to have a job, and she can go on title of the property and they can call it a primary residence. But the client made one really good point. He goes, John, my daughter's not going to want to live there long term. And I don't want to take away her ability to be a first-time home buyer and get the down payment assistance that comes with being a first-time home buyer. And so we started talking about alternate strategies. And we talked about, well, how about if we buy that as an investment property? How about, I mean, you don't want, you obviously, that's your only alternative. By the way, the third choice is you buy it as a second home for them and that they claim they're going to live there themselves. That's a little bit more gray area. Second homes, if you do VRBO, short-term rental is one thing, but if you've got somebody else living in a second home, you're kind of stepping on that line of that gray area. And that client felt like, hey, that wasn't really appropriate. Plus, you can't count any rental income from the property for qualifying if we call it a second home. And so in their case, what we ended up doing is we ended up doing a 1031 exchange. They were able to sell a property here in California and buy a property in Idaho. They just transferred the equity from the one escrow to the other, and they paid 0 taxes on the sale. And now for the next 4 years, they're going to get above market rents because they're renting not the home, but they're renting by the room. And so renting by the room, you can make more money. They're buying a 4-bedroom property, a 4-bedroom, 3-bath. And so the master bedroom is going to be the biggest. Their daughter's going to live in that one, but they have 3 other bedrooms that they're going to be able to rent out. And there are 2 shared bathrooms between those 3 bedrooms. And they're going to make about $1,200 to $1,500 a room is what they're expecting. Now, I don't know the market in Idaho. I don't know what, I don't remember what city they're buying in. But the numbers were crazy, what they were telling me that they could make. Now, a lot of it probably has to do with the fact that you got college students whose alternative is living in a dorm. And this is cheap compared to living in a dorm, or at least similar in price, but a significantly more comfortable environment where they're only living with three other people. And you have two shared bathrooms out of the three people, out of the three of you, with his daughter having the master with her own bathroom. The point is, you have an opportunity to think creatively, and I want to be your strategist. And so if you have any questions about anything like this, I'd love the opportunity to talk with you. My contact information is in the details on the podcast platform you're listening to. The truth is, I'm encouraging you to think outside the box. I'm encouraging you to look for opportunities and be persistent in executing those opportunities. Be consistent in your mindset that says, I want to grow myself, I want to grow my business, and I want to grow my real estate portfolio, and I want to be your guide to help make that happen. Thanks everybody for listening. If you enjoyed this, I'd love for you to leave a comment or a review on the podcast platform you're listening to. Please share with anybody that you know, and I look forward to seeing you next week as we look to grow you from profits to property.